Well, good morning and welcome to another little video. I wanted to make this one about the script. If you're a student of A Course in Miracles, you'd be aware of the idea that the script is written. So the story of death, the idea of all of the experiences that I will have in my worldly dream is written just as the script of salvation, which is the alternative or the opposite experience I can have, its script is also written. So there's that idea that whoever you're meant to meet, you're going to meet, there are no coincidences and all that sort of thing. But there's a little caveat to that. So in the idea of the deathly script, the worldly story, the story of pain, suffering and death, there's no caveat. That's it. That's what you get. And I'm laughing about that because having gotten the results of that story for a long, long time, it's nice to be able to offer something different, I guess. The caveat comes in where in the alternative to the script of death, where I choose again, where I repent, where I turn around, where I look at my life and say, no, I'm done with this. I can't continue with the way I've been going. I need something else. There are several options. And one of the most profound, or one of the most liberating, I guess, one of the most incredible options is to learn how to control time. And you might say to me, well, time's an idea that you made up in your mind. And well, yes, it is. And I can simply let it go and I can live forever or seemingly forever in the present, in the here and the now. Experiencing the opening of my mind like that. But I can live forever in seemingly in the physical incarnations again and again, over and over, being reborn and dying, telling myself that, I'm living here and now, I'm living in the present, I'm consciously focused on what is and not the past and the future. All of that sort of spiritual shit that people talk about, and yes, it's a true thing, I guess, but the whole point of all of that living in the now is to bring you into a meditative moment within your own mind where in the extremity, in the extreme, in the radical nature of now, I slip back and beyond or up and above my conscious level of mind into the miracle level of mind or into direct light and experience the light of my higher mind through the meditative process. Right, that light does several things. The light in your mind, once you experience it once, you'll be like, whoa, what the hell was that? I didn't know there was, how could there be light in here? It's just grey matter and blobby, squishy brain and blood and everything. It's like, well, that's not what mind is. We're talking about mind as in universal mind being part of a whole, something else going on in here, because the only other thing going on in here is using 5% of that grey matter, as Einstein probably rightly figured out, and getting the same result of that, which is the same thing every day. But in mind, the conscious level of mind, which is the errantly programmed, errantly taught, erroneously taught part of your true and natural mind, there's a whole nother thing that goes on. So collapsing time is part of that. So we have an experience. Let's say this is not directly to collapsing time, but we have an experience of having the light in our mind, and it's like, wow, I've got something else going on. And in your meditative process now, you have a goal, you have a target, a waypoint, an object of focus or a place of focus. Where like that, in a single instant, you can transcend consciousness and find yourself having a direct flash of the light of creative reality in your own being, and then being able to carry that with you through your worldly experience, which will manifest as, if you train your mind, joy and peace and happiness. Otherwise, if you don't train your mind, your ego just corrupts it, and it's like adding super fuel to a car. You're just throwing throwing fuel on the fire of the ego, and you'll have probably a worse experience. It'll drive you crazy. You'll end up in the nut house with everybody else that says, I've seen the light, and they don't know what to do with it. I should just add there that those experiences, those glimpses of seeing the light, are not specifically revelatory, are not specifically revelation. They're miraculous, but they're not specifically revelation. Revelation is intensely personal. It comes directly from God, and it is a whole nother scale, a whole nother. It's the full shebang. It's the whole thing, boom shanka. Whereas the little glimpses, or the lovely flashes, I think Jesus calls it in the Course, the lovely flashes of light that you can find beyond your consciousness, to me are more akin to being like postcards from home. It's like all of a sudden you get something in the mail and you open it, it's like, oh, wow, it's from home, hooray, lovely. And it's been so long since any kind of light's got into that dense association of temporal, insular density. I've already said density, but anyway, that when it first gets in for the first time and you have that flash, and then you're able to orchestrate the ongoing nature of that communicative practice through the meditation, you'll be surprised about it every time, and joyous about it every time. So, but collapsing time, because you now have a purpose and a waypoint, right? You've now got something to do. You've got the training of your mind, the collapse of time, so that you don't need to participate in the entirety of those manifestations of reincarnation in one idea or another over and over and over and over again. And when I talk about reincarnation, it's just as illusory as anything else. But it seems very real, doesn't it? It's like we're sitting here and it's like, wow, how real does this feel? I get up every day, do the same shit for the same money and for the same enjoyment and whatever it is. And I'm changing my mind about it, but it still seems very real. No matter how much I change my mind about it, the world still seems the same. I seem to be less interested in it. I seem to have less reaction to it because I'm applying the principles of forgiveness and all that sort of stuff. But do I really want to stick it out to the end? Do I really want to have to go through another 130 billion years of incarnations, visiting the bardo each time, which is now closed, by the way? So it's like it's a loop. I'm not going to get into that one on this video. The bardo is many states, but in general, it's like the portal to Earth is closed. All the souls that are now participating in the transformative process of awakening are all the sum of all the souls that can possibly be born here, and many that are still waiting to come in for their next incarnation. But collapsing time. So I'm looking at the idea of my script. I'm looking at the idea of being able to change the nature of my mind, and therefore my reality, changing the script as I go. The only thing I can do in that, apart from changing it emotionally from a script of suffering, pain and death to a script of joy and happiness, the only thing I can change is collapsing time by learning the lessons that are being presented to me in the script, and thus snipping them out or editing them out of the script, so that those triggers in my mind that would have once reacted to the world as if it was real no longer exist. The blocks that those triggers represent have been removed, and that not only gets removed from the cycles of my experience in the physical world in this incarnation, but in every incarnation, because I am just mind, and I take my mind with me wherever I go. So as I collapse that time for me, as I snip or edit out that old unwillingness to learn, that old unwillingness to pay attention to the cycles, the repetitive cycles of the nature of my experience here on earth, and deal with it through forgiveness and heal it, as I become willing to snip that out, the necessity to participate in those cycles of suffering and struggling and death and everything, gone. And I find myself at peace. Now, the idea of the potential of mind to examine, to use, to play around with, to manifest the maximum amount of time possible, right, in the examination of the tiny mad idea of the belief in separation from source, separation from God, universal creative force, whatever. That potential is also used up in everyone and everything that was going to be part and parcel of the nature of presenting me the lesson that I was going to need to learn in time and space, thus erasing it from the script in its entirety. All right? So as my cycle comes around again next time, and if you're not aware of your cycle, simply sit and watch your own experiences, watch your own triggers, and you'll realize that the same shit happens to you day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, perhaps, depending on the length of the cycles you're in. And I don't want to get into that now either, but just generally. And you'll have the same responses. Oh, not that again, not this again. Oh, God damn it again. I just got my shit together, and then, you know, all of this sort of stuff. And it's like, well, it comes around again until you learn the lesson that's being presented there. And as you learn the lesson, there's no need for it to come around again in your own consciousness, in your own sense of being aware of it and being the one that has to deal with it and all of that sort of stuff. It'll still be the same out there. The world will still look the same. It'll still be doing the same things. It'll be crazy, whatever, and you think, but you won't react to it. You'll be in the world, but not of it. Right? You just won't react to it. You'll see it, and there'll be a recognition, perhaps, wow, I would have once reacted to that. That would have once really upset me. But that will change. Right? So as your mind heals, so your perception of the world heals by simply the action of withdrawing what it is that you would have once projected out there onto the world as meaning, as erroneous meaning. I give this all the meaning that it has for me. I'm projecting out there onto the world. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm just going to own whatever my projections are. I'm going to own my triggers. I'm going to own my blocks. And I'm going to sit in prayer, right? Now, here's the key. I'm going to sit in prayer for the healing of my mind that believes the world is real, that believes I'm separate from God. Right? And I'm going to allow something else to happen, not of my own making. I can't change what's going on in here. Something else has to happen. A miracle needs to happen. Sounds simple, doesn't it? But I have to find the honesty of that prayer, and it may come around and around and again. That trigger may show up again and again and again until I really get down deep enough to find that sincerity and that integrity in prayer to actually mean it. And part and parcel of that integrity is realizing that I don't mean it. I still want the old script. Remember, the mind is habituated and trained to support the old script. So in every encounter, in every trigger, in everything like that, it's like, oh, I want this. This is what I want. This is happening to me because I actually want it. It's part of the old script of pain, suffering, and death that I chose in my desire to enter into this experience of seemingly separation from source, to be my own power, to be my own God, my own author. And it's all an illusion. It's all not true. So as I apply honesty to my prayer, so, oh, I do want this, and now I'm going to change my mind. Right? In the wanting of it, when you realize, oh, I chose this, I want this, the thought of that, the idea of it and the acceptance of it can connect then with the emotional state of it, the emotional package of it, and the whole lot can be released through prayer. If you can't get in touch with the emotional package attributed to the meaning that you think you've given the world, or that you seem to have given the world, you can ask for help with that too. Help me to let all this go. I'm carrying around this big bundle of crap and I'm tired of it. All these old grievances and judgments, and gets me nothing. I need a miracle here. Help me to get in touch with it. And then you'll just find that automatically it'll just start coming up. It's like the lid will be off and all of a sudden stuff will start bubbling up and you'll feel emotional, and perhaps you'll have forgotten your prayer and you'll wonder why you're feeling so emotional in the supermarket perhaps. Or be still, let it happen. Just let it happen. Doesn't matter where you are, whose company you're in, just let it happen. If you feel like you need to explain yourself to anyone, you can do it later, but let that happen first. Let it come up, whether you cry, you laugh, you scream, whatever it is, just let it out, let it go, let it all go. So as I learn those lessons, as I learn to take responsibility for my triggers, my blocks, and begin to remove or release the particulars of my world, the particulars of my dreaming from my control of it, right, I find myself to feel more liberated. And as I said prior, I snip out that little section where that whole thing has to come around again, right? Now, it is going to come around again, but you'll realize that you don't react to it in the same way, or perhaps you don't react to it at all, right? But all reaction is of the ego. When I am one with everything, when I'm completely at peace and completely harmonious with my world, my dream, my relationship with the universe and everything, then what is there to react to? Let them drop a bomb on my head. It's like, okay, if that's how it was meant to end, so that's how it ends. It's like it's always going to end at some point, somehow, some way. If you still think there's a fight to fight, the good fight, the righteous fight out there in the world to go and fix something, to save someone, to stop something or change something out there, then be about it until you realize that it's not that way. Until you reach the point where you realize that it doesn't matter what you do over here, something's already brewing over there. You can't change the world. You can only change your mind about the way you think it appears to you, the way you think you see it. Until so many changes, so many shifts in consciousness have occurred that you realize that you are truly blessed. So that old idea of the script is written then, yes, the script is written, but I'm the author. I decide how I react, interact with the script, with the storyline. I decide whether that story is going to go on for a long, long time, or whether I'm going to collapse it down to eventually the here and now, and experience the full illumination of my mind by the grace of God. Watch your triggers. Watch them. Don't push them aside. Don't let them just pass you by. They're opportunities. What is this? Why am I triggered by this? Look into the mirror of the situation that you seem to be triggered by or affected by or react to. Look into the mirror of it and give it a name. What is this reflecting back to me? Because that's the meaning you've given it. I've given it. I keep my finger on my nose. I take total responsibility for the world I think I see. And I heal it in my own mind through the passion of my heartfelt prayer, honest prayer. Again and again and again until I reach a state of inner peace within myself and learn to master it to the point where I'm no longer contained by the limitations of my consciousness. Peace.